Hello students, a very good morning to you. Today we will continue our new chapter, chapter 11 of class 11, that is transportation in higher plants. You know that in 1 or 2 days your UT will be held, and for that for your UT you should be prepare yourself that you can get a good score or can make a good score. So students, that's why you have to revise all the notes that is given by me. And now let's continue our chapter as we have to complete the syllabus. So today the chapter which we will start is so much interesting, that is about plants. This is actually a whole unit that containing the plant physiology, means transportation, then how photosynthesis occurs, then mineral nutrient transportation, and hormones. Also we will study different physiological processes that take place in plants. So you don't think this is so tough and boring. This is so much interesting. Just you have to understand that how plants use different means to maintain their life process. So students, today's topic is translocation. We are continue chapter 11, that is the topic is translocation. You know about translocation in class 10th. The long distance transportation of substances is called as translocation. And that long distance transportation occurs through the vascular tissue, xylem and phloem. You are very familiar about xylem and phloem. Xylem conducts water whereas phloem conducts food. So the movement of the direction of xylem is unidirectional, as water is needed by the leaves for photosynthesis. So water is absorbed by the root and sent it towards the leaf where photosynthesis occurs. But food is synthesized by the leaves and it is needed by all the parts of the plant. That's why the movement of phloem is bidirectional, as the food is required by both root parts and other parts of the plant. That's why we can say that the movement of or the direction of xylem is unidirectional, whereas the direction of phloem is bidirectional, as food is required by all the parts of the plant. So how this process occurs, let's see. As we are studying about transportation, clear, our chapter is transportation in plants, and here I have told you about translocation, which is long distance transportation. Before we move to long distance transportation, here we have to know that means of transportation. What are different means for transportation of different substances, means water, mineral, nutrients, food, etc. How they are transported in plants. Whether it is from smaller distance or from larger distance. What are the organs present in it? What are their arrangement? How they get the nutrients? So the means of transport is mainly divided into three types. One is your diffusion, next second one is your facilitated diffusion, and third one is your active transport. Diffusion and facilitated diffusion come under passive transport. If we consider all these, then it is divided into two types. One is passive transport and another is active transport. Passive transports include both diffusion and facilitated diffusion, whereas active transport needs energy. So students, let's see how this type of transportation occurs in plants. Here is the diagram. You can see the diagram and can understand what I am trying to teach you. Here I have showed you about the procedure of diffusion. You know that in diffusion always the movement of molecules takes place from the region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration. Means as here the movement of substances from higher to lower, so there is no expenditure of any energy occurs. Means for diffusion there is no energy is needed by the plant to transport these substances. Again in facilitated diffusion also, here some necessary substances which are allowed by the cell membrane. This is the cell membrane and this is made up of lipid bilayer. You know that when you are studying about the chapter cell, I have told you about the cell membrane or plasma membrane, which is consist of lipid bilayer. In some cases I have told you that they made up of protein and carbohydrate also. Here the plasma membrane or cell membrane is consist of or made up of lipid bilayer. So in the lipid bilayer, diffusion occurs from higher concentration to lower concentration. Here you can understand easily. Here are the molecules and they have to move through the cell membrane. Clear? They have to move through the cell membrane. And here the molecules are less. Here if you count, then 1, 2, 3 molecules. Suppose here 3 molecules and here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Here 11 molecules. So here the number of molecule is less and here the number of molecule is more. As I have told you, movement is always from more concentration to less concentration. So here the movement of substance occurs from this membrane to this membrane, means from this side to this side, and this type of transportation is called as diffusion. So what are the rules for following by the substances or molecules to diffuse? So first is diffusion occurs along concentration gradient. It means when the concentration is more, that will move in the direction of less concentration. That's why it is called as along concentration gradient. Clear? Second one is no energy expenditure. As I have told you, if you pour water or if you by mistake a glass of water is fall from your hand, then you can notice the water is always move in the direction from higher region to lower region. This is why, because as we know that the lower region has a slope or no water, so it tries to balance it. Exactly here what happens, during this process no energy is used. Suppose for example, here is the chalk and I want to drop it. When I drop it, then I don't need any energy. But when I board myself to keep the chalk, then I use my energy. Exactly in diffusion, as there is so many molecules and they do not need energy to give in the another direction where less molecules are present. So here we can say there is no energy is used. They can easily move from one direction to another direction, means they can easily cross through the plasma membrane or cell membrane to the direction where less molecules are present. So these are the three criteria which followed by diffusion. First is along concentration gradient, means diffusion occurs along concentration gradient. Second one is no expenditure of energy, as I explained you now. And third is movement is passive. Movement is passive and slow. It means, you know what is passive? Passive means same, there is no use of energy. So passive and slow. And this movement is slow. Next we will see diffusion rate, means on which factors diffusion depends. Means whether in some cases diffusion will be more faster or diffusion will be less faster, that will be depend on some factors. Means either the factor present in the plant or some factors that are environmental factors. That there must be environmental factors. So what are the factors? The first factor is size of the particle. Size of the particle means if the size of the particle is large, then it can't cross through the cell membrane. So diffusion will be less. If the size of the particle is less, suppose I take a glass of water. And I put a drop of ink. Then all the water get converted into the color of the ink. So why this is possible? As the molecules present in ink is smaller in size. That's why they get diffused more faster. Clear? So the rate of diffusion depends on the size of the particle. Clear, students? The rate of diffusion depends on the size of particle. Then how smaller is the particle size, or size of the particle is smaller, then more is the diffusion. Clear? Smaller is the size of particle, more is diffusion. Next is gradient of concentration. As we studied, gradient of concentration means where the concentration gradient is less, then the concentration from the more solute or more molecules will move in the direction of less. That's why here the second point, means the second reason on which diffusion depends is gradient of concentration. Next is permeability of membrane. As we know that the cell membrane is permeable. What type of permeable? Selectable permeable. We know that cell membrane or plasma membrane are selectively permeable or semi-permeable. Why we call this semi-permeable or selectively permeable? As it will not allow all the things to enter into it. That's why the substances or the molecules which is needed by the cell membrane, they allow only those things. So here the rate of diffusion depend on the permeability of the membrane. It means, as we know, hydrophobic molecules more permeable to the cell membrane. How? Hydrophilic means those who like to attach with water. Hydrophilic molecules can't be so more diffusion as they attached with it. But the hydrophobic means those who don't like water, they quickly diffuses or they quickly passes the cell membrane. That's why we can say that hydrophobic molecules more permeable. So more permeable. Students, I am repeating it again. You remember this. Between hydrophilic love towards water, hydrophobic hate towards water. As we know, the molecules have two ends. One end is hydrophilic and another is hydrophobic. You already studied in your chemistry in class 10 and in class 11 also. So, the permeability of the cell membrane is maximum towards the hydrophobic molecules. Clear? Hydrophobic, remember students, hydrophobic molecules. So, more diffusion means they can easily cross the cell membrane or the plasma membrane. That's why here I write hydrophobic molecules are more permeable to the cell membrane. Next is high temperature. If the temperature is high, then the rate of diffusion is also high. As we know that the temperature is an important factor for deciding the rate of diffusion. So if the temperature is less, means humidity is less, then you know that evaporation is less. Exactly. The diffusion, as we know, it occurs either in liquid or in gas. Diffusion occurs either in liquid or in gas. So, the liquid or gas will diffuse more faster if the temperature is high. So, here we can say the temperature is high, which makes the diffusion faster. Means, more is the temperature, more is the rate of diffusion. Next, high pressure also makes the diffusion rate faster. Means if we put some water in a polythene or in a balloon and we press it, then what happens? Then it will release from the balloon, or the balloon will be burst and they all are released. So why this occur? Because of pressure. So here less pressure, less diffusion. More pressure, more diffusion. So pressure is again one factor which decides the rate of diffusion. Again, let's have a quick view. The rate of diffusion depends on the size of particle, gradient of concentration, permeability of the cell membrane, temperature and pressure. So how they are affect the rate of diffusion, I explained you here. Next we will see facilitated diffusion. Here is the diagram which explains about facilitated diffusion. So what is facilitated diffusion? Like diffusion, facilitated diffusion also needs no energy, or here no energy expenditure will occur. You can see the molecules here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and here the molecules are only 4. So here is also the movement of substances, but only selectable substances can cross through this membrane. Means those which are required by the cell, not all the substances. But here in case of diffusion, all the substances, whether it is required or not, depending on the concentration. But here in facilitated diffusion, here only some selected or selectable molecules are cross across this membrane, and here no expenditure of energy occurs as the cell membrane identifies which molecules are required, so it opens itself to entry the molecules. So here you can see facilitated diffusion. Diffusion of hydrophilic molecules along the concentration gradient through fixed membrane transport protein and which are called as porins. Porin means porins are special type of proteins. Sometimes all the substances can't be enter into the cell. That's why some transport proteins, we can say transport proteins, or we can say whose main role is to carry the substances that is required by the cell. Suppose, to understand, let's give you an example. Suppose you are a student of Vivekananda Senior Secondary School. You are allowed any time to the school and no one will ask that where you are going. But if an unknown student come to the school, then he is asked by everyone. We ask, who are you, from where you come. These are the questions asked by us and everyone. If that student is come with you, no one will ask. If asks, then if you explain he is my friend, then we will say okay. Exactly in case of facilitated diffusion that happen. Means here some transport protein are present. They help in the movement of the molecules from one direction to another direction, means on the cell membrane. That's why diffusion of hydrophilic molecules. You know that in the above topic in diffusion I have told you that hydrophilic have less diffusion, but here diffusion of hydrophilic molecules, it means the cell membrane will not allow the hydrophilic molecules, but for the entry of hydrophilic molecules some special transport proteins are involved which is called as porins, and there are 8 different type of porins, means they are of different size and different structure are present on the cell membrane to transport special type of molecules like your hydrophilic molecules. In case of diffusion, the diffusion rate is more faster in case of hydrophobic, but in facilitated diffusion the hydrophilic molecules should enter into the cell. That's why they can't directly enter into the cell as I have told you. So here they need some special protein which are known as transport protein or porins. Again, here is also no energy is used. Energy expenditure is 0. Clear? As here molecules are more and here molecules are less. So here we can say that no expenditure of energy. It is very specific, means it is not like diffusion. It is very specific, means it can be transported in one direction or by needed by the cell membrane. That's why we can say that it is very specific. Clear, students? Then how it is occurred? The proteins you don't know. Let's know. The proteins can move in 180 degree. Means on the cell membrane the proteins can move, means they can move along all the membrane and can allow or can take the molecules, means as I have told you that they are very specific and can take the molecules inside the cell. Clear? Water channels are made up of different type of aquaporins. In the cell membrane, in facilitated diffusion, water channels, means for entry of water, they are made up of different type of aquaporins. We can say them as aquaporins who transport the molecules from outside the membrane to the inside membrane. That's why it is of 3 different types. One is uniport, second one is antiport, and third one is symport. So what is uniport, antiport and symport? Let's see. In facilitated diffusion, there are 3 type of movement occur. One is your uniport. In uniport, what is uniport? In uniport, when a transmembrane protein allow a molecule to pass through independently of any one molecule. Clear? Suppose you can see, this is the movement of molecules in single direction. So this is called as uniport. You can simply write when the movement of substances or when a transmembrane protein allow a molecule, when a transmembrane protein allow a molecule independently of any other molecule, means do not depend on other molecules and independently can cross the channel in a single direction, that is called as uni. Simply, if you can't understand, then you can write when the movement of molecule occur through the cell membrane or through the plasma membrane in a single direction, means here only the molecules can go. In antipode, anti means opposite. In antipode, what happen? In antipode, you can see the diagram. Here the movement occur in both directions, like this. Means substances can both go and come. Means it is by the help of carrier protein. Means carrier protein takes the molecule inside the cell and releases the molecule from outside the cell. So how can we define antipode? Where a transmembrane protein allows two different molecules to pass through simultaneously. Here independent molecule, here two different molecules can cross the membrane simultaneously. Two different molecules can cross the membrane simultaneously. Clear, students? This is your antipode. Then what is sympode? Sympode means when both the molecules are moved in the same direction. So when we can say that sympode allows more than one substances simultaneously in a single direction. Like this. This is the aquaporine or transmembrane protein. You can see the diagram like this. When two molecules cross the channel, clear, in a single direction, both the molecules, suppose this is molecule A, this is molecule B, they are traveling in the single direction. This is called as sympode. This is sympode. So in facilitated diffusion, we see that special membrane protein are required, which are called as aquaporins, or they are called as transport proteins, and they are of three types. One is unipode, when movement is occur only one direction. Suppose this is A. Antipode means when the direction of both the molecules in different direction, means one is in this direction and another is in this direction. And in sympode, both the molecules cross the membrane in the same direction. Clear? So for today, this is all about your facilitated diffusion. We will study about active transport.